lost tonight. All I feel is my heartbeat, beating like a drum, beating with confusion. All I hear are the voices telling me to go, but I could never run, because in my African dream, there's a new tomorrow. My African dream is a dream that we can follow. Now when the night begins to fall, I listen for your call, I listen for your heartbeat.
Dialogue on your radio with me on Kopose JJ Tabane. We're coming to you tonight from Kofifi FM with live with other stations across the length and breadth of Gauteng, Citibank FM, Teta FM, Alex FM, Mams FM, Lekwa FM, Kasi FM, as well as Cosmos FM. It's an imbizo tonight. We're talking now to Bongani Baloyi. He's the leader of Xiluva. He was a leader of Action SA a few months ago, a leader of DA long time ago, I suppose, a mayor of Midval, 2 terms, a successful mayor, I must say, over there. But tonight he's going to tell us why on earth we must vote for Xiluva. Bongani, thank you so much.
No, thank you for
joining
having
us.
me. Thank you. Really appreciate the platform and the conversation.
No, wonderful. Thank you for coming 2 days in a row. So we'll pick up from where we left off yesterday. Tell me, in
Yes.
summary, if people are looking at you, they'll say, but is he Action SA now, or has he dropped everything that Action SA stood for? Did he drop what DA stood for, etc.? Because you are successful, but not as an island. You are successful as a mayor of the DA for 10 years.
Correct.
Right? You moved to be the head of Gauteng Action SA. Now you are asking them to forget about all of that and focus on Xiluva. Why? Why must we believe you now that this is for good?
Look, I'm not asking them to forget about my past. I'm very proud of my past and my associations and decisions I've made. I think they must appreciate that from my past I've made incredible learning.
Okay.
I started politics as a young boy, and I consider myself to be a young man. And any person who's an adult who goes through learning really, builds a reservoir of wealth through experience. And you get to make better decisions as you grow. But more equally, the 2 experiences from the DA and Action SA have actually led me where I should have been in the first place. But like Ronaldo, the soccer player, he did not start off at Real Madrid. There's few teams before you got to Real Madrid, and probably other bigger teams. Well, there's no other bigger team than Real Madrid. But
have you shared the ideology of the DA? You were there for 10 years. Surely it's something that was within your blood. You know, all of what they believed that carried you to be the mayor there for 2 terms, being able to be successful in what you did. You decided to change that. There must have been a reason. And the people who supported you under the DA, some of them are still remaining there because maybe they didn't think that your change particularly excited them. So tonight, I want you to talk to those people as well who supported you when you were still mayor of Midval, of whether they should come with you now. Just tell us why you left.
Look, I left as a consequence of also my growth. And realizing that there's something that's in me that's pushing me to pursue a particular agenda in politics, using politics. Because many people can argue you could have gone into NGOs and various other NGOs, but political parties is the best platform to advance change in the country. And the type of change where I can be responsible and being part of the vehicle. So for me, what happened when I took the journey of the DA and I knew it was time to end, never mind what was happening in the DA, but you also, as you grow and as you learn, you start to realize there's something I am missing as an individual. There's something in me which is not connecting with my space where I am. So never mind the reasons with the DA changing, but there's always been a thing burning inside of me that has always been
that the DA couldn't accommodate. I mean, surely it's a liberal party, democratic party, in the sense that if you come up with ideas that were not originally there, they could accommodate them. You know?
You don't. You won't find that space, JJ, because the DA is built for persons like me to assimilate into the DA.
I see.
Yeah, so when you always assimilate into a political party, you have to give parts of yourself and leave the other parts of yourself, which are very important.
Yeah.
So I went through that experience and I realized to be part of this, and which is as a consequence of my upbringing as an African. But there, you say the individual is the center of everything.
Yeah.
And where I come from, they say society grows.
But during your term in the DA, there were at least 2 policy conferences.
Correct.
Where these debates could have germinated. Did you contribute to that to say, guys, this individualism doesn't work? In other words, did you push back in terms of policy change? Because every organization goes through an evolution. And by you coming into a DA, which has been seen before as just a white party, would have expected that you'd come in there to make the change. Are you saying that was resisted to a point where you had to go and form something else?
Beyond being resisted, there is no space for it. Because inherently you can't make such an argument because you have selected to come and join a system or an ideology of politics which is foreign. So inherently, any African that comes into a political space, you assimilate. Because the bulk of the ideologies and the thinking behind politics and the structure is foreign. So it does not accommodate the type. But let's talk about Ubuntu, and Ubuntu is bastardized to just mean humanity. So in the DA, the battle was along. The biggest battle manifestation for all of this was singly put into one document, which is called the redress document. We spoke to broad-based black economic empowerment and affirmative action. So that was a proxy war for the other components of the battle line. But I'm also not making the excuse that one didn't fight hard. I'm also equally saying, when the journey ended for me, it was important for me to do the deep introspection to say, but there's this thing that's inside of me, which every person is. You have that fire burning inside of you, and that fire burned more when I was actually serving as.
No, I respect that, and my problem, and I did say this with you the first time we had a conversation after you left the DA, that there was a period where you say, no, I'm leaving, but I will never join politics.
I never said
I'm going to business or whatever else.
No, JJ. Now I've always
What did you say? What did you say? Because there was a contradiction where you changed your mind and then joined another party, which was Action SA.
No. The confusion was sponsored by Ms. Helen Zille.
Okay.
Yes. I said, guys, I'm leaving.
Yeah. And what did
and she said, Bongani is retiring from politics. I never had a conversation with her.
Oh, I see. But you didn't contradict her.
No, I did on Twitter. Where she on the platform, I even went on Twitter to correct it and did other interviews to correct this narrative. I never said I'm not joining any party.
Yeah.
And that's now public record. I never said such a thing.
So when you left, you knew you were joining Action SA. You didn't live into the wilderness and then you were recruited from the wilderness or not?
No. The decision was not made yet.
Oh, I see.
The decision was not made yet. So, in fact, I had 3 decisions in front of me.
Yeah.
One was open a political party. Second decision was join an existing political party. And the third decision was going to consulting. And lend my expertise of leadership in governance to other municipalities. And that was the in fact, number one consideration. The last consideration was starting a political party. And in the engagements with other South Africans, I felt that they can still contribute into this party that is beginning, that has a blank
So your
canvas.
fire of burning, that particularly was burning around the issue of individualism vis-a-vis Ubuntu, as you told me yesterday. Why did you think that fire was going to be quenched by Action SA? Because I don't believe that they themselves moved away from that same ideology of individualism necessarily.
I thought here's a perfect opportunity of a vehicle that's starting. There's no
see.
policy articulation at this stage. In fact, policy happens by way of articulation of the leader, as and whenever something happens, then he pronounces.
Yeah.
But because there hasn't been engagement and the party hasn't taken a position, it will still influence it. So before one could instill and influence this, and many other things happened, and one saw that, you see, the problem with the current generation of leaders now, which has led us to the current problems we have in the country, is that they keep regurgitating the same thing and saying it's something new.
Yeah.
But the same thing that they're trying to do is not really addressing this lack or this burning thing that, and I've now since discovered it's not burning inside of me only.
Yeah.
Many people are feeling that as black people, if you look at, let's call it for lack of a better word, the institution of black people, the state of black people across the country, and whether it's manifested in the economy, your language does not have any economic value, you don't participate properly, you're not even respected, the resurgence of racism, unemployment going higher and higher. So if you look at the things that matter to black people, the value system has been eroded. We are like empty vessels.
But did you put that up front before you joined Action SA? Because it looks like now you went to you went to another version of the DA by going to Action SA.
JJ, but what you are not appreciating is that as an individual, you sometimes as you learn as a young person, you make decisions to try and fulfill this thing burning. And it takes moments in time which I consider a breakthrough that puts things in perspective. And that was silent moments in the storm of Action SA departure thing, to say, but what is it? What is this thing that I'm looking for? And I had to conceptualize and write things and find moments of silence in the storm, which showed me that the thing I was chasing was trying to influence and introduce this agenda in conventional politics, and that's why this has failed, because it requires a foundation where it started purely and specifically for it. And that's why I felt that then I've got a responsibility to build what I believe is missing.
Why did you leave Action SA?
Well, it has a number of reasons. One, it was triggered by the relationship breakdown, as Mashaba explains it. So this happens in a meeting. I'm called into a meeting, and he says in his words, Bongani, we no longer trust each other. Our relationship has broken down.
What broke it?
No, he's explaining this to me. I'm going to share what he says. So he says it has deteriorated. We no longer call each other, and worst of all, he says it started when the negotiation with the ANC collapsed. So interestingly, there, what he doesn't tell people is that he gave us mandate to go and negotiate, and me, I'm going into these negotiations as a second in command after the national chair who was leading these conversations, and now I'm playing a supportive structure. And before he leaves on holiday to Kenya, he gives full go ahead. But the thing he said explicitly to us that he wants is City of Johannesburg. If we can negotiate and get City of Johannesburg, ANC can get whatever they want. So because of that breakdown, because when he came back, he created the impression that it was me who was leading this, and people understand his position on this publicly, and that excuse for me felt that he's now putting it on my lap. Meanwhile, he consented and agreed to this, and worst of all, does not even have the courtesy to say to the team that the Senate met and resolved, here's a team of 5 people to go and deepen and continue with the negotiation with the ANC. It doesn't even have courtesy to apologize. The party doesn't even do anything to say, but there's a resolution. So I had an issue with the fact that now there's an individual, there's an institution. An institution takes decisions which all individuals must be party to, and now an individual overrides what he gave consent to and the implications. So he cites that as the first breakdown of the relationship. And then further says, in a Senate meeting, I differed with him on a point, and the way I differed with him showed that we don't, our relationship has deteriorated. I do not understand, because I was raising a point about his driver/bodyguard, who is investigating people and created a dossier about me and how I'm in so-and-so's payroll, and also all manner of things, which is disparaging and also quite malicious, with no evidence of proof. With no one having asked me anything, he just believed what was fed by this fellow. So when we raise this,
it sounds all Sodom and Gomorrah. Is he a dictator? because people are going to be looking at him as a possible president of the country, as you all be contesting. Would you say, without mincing your words, that he's a dictator or not? Or you just differed? I mean, like any other people in a workplace, you can differ.
Look, we differed immensely. And when initially he said to me he likes people to be around him who are strong and who differ. But the moment you start differing, you are moved to the door.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest problem with him, beyond whether he's a dictator or not, he's very naive.
Explain.
He's naive in the sense that he believes those who are close to him. So to get close to him, here's what you do. You must call him regularly and say, President, I was in Cosmo City and people saw Action SA t-shirt. They stopped me. They said, I must tell you that you are a good person. Keep hitting the ANC. Or tell him that whatever he's tweeting on Twitter and things he's saying in interviews is making people laugh and people like that. That's how you must engage him to sustain a relationship. Or you must say, you must watch that.
So are you talking about the cult here?
No. He's very naive.
Yeah.
It does not have the characteristics of a cult, but people who have seen his limitations as a leader and his weak spots and the manipulation.
And it's nothing that could have been fixed. You had to move away.
No, for me, it was quite clear because you see, when JJ, you call me into a meeting like that, you should at least ask me what I think and not make firm statements. So to me, he said this is a situation and he has made a decision about it. And as a consequence.
So there was no policy difference, therefore, of you living.
We had not even got to policy formulation yet. There was still the beginning of a policy process. Yeah. So we hadn't even gotten, which I believe the difficulties have been even more at the policy perspective stage.
Yeah.
So,
but you realize that all of this that you are telling me can create doubt in people's minds about whether or not politics is the solution to actually make the change, because we are always now dealing with either we're dealing with egos or conflict or what, and it doesn't look like it's going to get better. You've just started a new party. You already fought with your chairperson.
Look, it's
what
normal.
was that about?
And
you are both from the same family of Action SA.
JJ, let me address the first part.
Yeah.
Conflict arises in everything.
Sure.
In church, there's conflict. Even in people's homes, there's conflict.
Yeah.
So when we face conflict, we dealt with it the way that we did.
Yeah.
And people are equally right to be suspicious of politics. But remember, the price of petrol is determined by politics. There's nothing that does not have any conflict inside. If you want to move away from a conflict situation where individuals are getting into the space, are saying we've got ideas and we believe in conviction and want to persuade is a difficult thing to persuade people. And there's a few members who are foolish like I am to believe that they can persuade society. So when we began the Xiluva journey, what started to emerge is a number of things. That one, from a chairperson perspective, and the roles were not very clear. Yeah. And what I started taking the administrative.
So why
roles.
didn't you clarify the roles?
No. The roles were not performed in a manner which was very clear because of limitations of individuals. Right. So I ended up having to take the full administrative role of the party, and I accept the criticism from my former chair that I did everything myself because they were also writing key documents and there was lack of contribution. So sometimes you forget an individual.
Is it not because of the type of people that you recruited? What are we talking about in terms of capacity of the people?
There was no
around?
capacity at that stage.
At the moment?
No, we're building capacity now. Now we've
you have
got
branches, you have regions. What is the story with your party in terms of capacity and existence now? How many members do you have?
Correct. Let's deal with the institution and we'll come with the external factors. We are now building a serious institution. We've got a chairperson who's got experience in what we are doing. And as the institution, we're really starting to grow because we must augment what we get from the structure side and be able to put it in systems and things to be able to campaign properly and manage our institution. So that is really doing well. In terms of members, in Gauteng, we're sitting at about 10,000 members at this stage.
Serious?
In Gauteng. Yes, we are moving in Gauteng, JJ.
Yeah.
So
you got branches?
No. We don't have a thing called branches.
What do you have?
We follow. So at a local level, we've got ward campaign teams.
Ward campaign teams, but that assumes a campaign. But I'm talking about membership base now.
Yes, our membership base at the lowest.
Their job is to campaign.
Is to campaign. So we're on permanent campaign
mode.
We also make we also make the distinction with our politics and the conventional politics because there must be a change. If we exist to just look at only 5 years and then another 5 years, and don't actually get our campaign and machinery right. Notwithstanding the time limitation that we have, we can't invest in branches and electing of people, but there must be a consistent campaign. We don't have the time, nor do we want to recreate the challenges you find in conventional politics of branches. So we've preferred not to go that route. So we said we want stable politics, but also born out of meritocracy and delivery, right? So we need to have a fundamental departure and not follow everybody and follow our own.
What are your policies? Give me 3 top policies that can make people vote for you, and not a patriotic alliance that just left before you here.
So our first policy, JJ, that we're undergoing a process of writing policies now. So I can speak to 3 key policies that we're dealing with. One is the issue of economic development. That's very key, and we'll speak to the details of that.
Okay.
The second policy is foreign relation policy.
You also don't want foreigners?
No, we want foreigners, but we'll explain.
Okay, foreigners. Okay, the third one?
And the third one is policy on arts and culture.
Policy on arts and culture?
Absolutely.
That's a full-on policy?
Yes.
Start with that for me.
So we accept that arts and culture is beyond an expense into into the fiscus of the country. In fact, it's positioned correctly in the economic cluster. So arts and culture can actually build society, create an economy and vibrancy as well, but also keep our most treasured culture, expression of our culture alive. And we believe that we're not telling our stories adequately as a country. We're not protecting people in our arts as a country. But equally, the growth of that sector has been limited to a few people and not everybody. So we also believe that arts and culture is a way to reinstill our moral values that are important to us. For an example, you watch the various broadcasters, I think DSTV, and you'll find a program about young girls, and it's called, I think, My Body Works. It's a thing about prostitution, essentially. So there is a live show that covers prostitutes and young people.
Serious? I didn't know of that,
So you see, when young girls and young boys see this as a source of life and livelihood, the decisions it makes on them and how they relate to the times we find ourselves in and the lifestyle affects us. And then compounded by the fact that Stats SA says to us that 60% of black households are single parent led. So single parents are raising children, and these children are having children from a very young age. So we now compound this thing. So I really think from a societal point of view, not you see on TV, we have to build morality around black people and actually build the things that encourage family building and societal building and nation building. But arts and culture is not used adequately because there's stories of our forefathers that we are not telling. So we can't be overly focused on the Zulu kingdom and forget that before, even after King Shaka Zulu is Zudingane, and it's a very important story. But beyond that, we're not telling the story of Khosi Sekhukhune, telling the story of Uhinza as well, and a few others of Umkan. Those things are very important because it speaks to reviving isithunzi somuntu omnyama by seeing these positive things told from our own eyes. So arts and culture plays a very big anchor role because as a country we need to sell something to others to come into our country and enjoy it, but equally we need to use arts and culture as a platform
but
to
is that
build.
Not, are you saying that's not already happening?
No, it's not happening. It's not happening. When you think arts and culture, look at classic example in the news now. The KZN wants to spend 20 million rands to bring South African Music Awards. So whenever we have famous people, we take a group of black people, take them there, wear traditional attire, sing for them. Babonute, you are now in Africa. So we have not actually moved beyond that to show how deep and important arts and culture is, more so for Bantu Bamnyama, which these things are very important. So arts and culture also touches on heritage. We went to Magoloko Amafehleng in Denisville, and there's a site where their great grandfather is buried around the 1800s. His burial site is there, it was their land there. But if you go there, JJ, you won't see what government has not done anything. Instead, government has
made your
sold land
research that this is an election issue that people care about.
Those things are very important. So the problem we often say, JJ, we posture as politicians is to just easily respond to what is contemporary and what is in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
But we don't go beyond and broaden the conversation and debate. We believe that arts and culture is a very important aspect because
Yeah.
it can absorb a number of things, including create employment for people who are unemployed, but equally stimulate economies.
Have you studied what the government had planned over the last 20 years on arts and culture? There used to be something called the Mzansi's Golden Economy. Surely a good initiative. I'm not sure what has happened to it. I mean,
There's
you look
great-
at those things because my problem with politicians sometimes is to reinvent the wheel of stuff that's already there. What we need is those things to be translated into actionable things.
Absolutely. The problem, JJ, we have found is that whenever there's a reshuffle of ministers, programs die because they're attached to a minister. What I learned in government is continuous. Once you start something, you must continue and sustain it. And that's one of the things that we are going to do. So we don't also make the claim that everything that the NZ government is doing in various portfolios is all wrong. What is good and working, we must enhance all of those policy aspects, and for delivery as well, so people can see tangibility of all of these. So we believe what works will also blend in what we believe is good to actually take it further.
All right. Let's talk about foreigners.
So we welcome foreigners in the country.
Okay.
And we believe that foreigners need to come correctly in the country like they would in any other country.
Yeah.
So we believe that there should be a border. We
Yeah.
believe that
But they're
people
already
must-
here incorrectly, half of them.
No. I
Are
agree
you going to
with you.
deport them?
We need to exercise. Here's the two things that we need to do. So when people, let's say educated us, actually 2 days ago, the
Yeah.
majority is Zimbabweans.
Yeah.
So let's say we deport them. Let's follow that train of thought. Let's
Yeah.
say we round up all Zimbabweans today,
Yeah.
and we deport all Zimbabweans today. There's a high likelihood that tomorrow they'll be back. Fine, then the argument might say, let's build a higher wall
Yeah.
and a thicker wall to keep this out. And I really, this is our departure is to say that South Africa has been weak at economic diplomacy.
Yeah.
The problem in Zimbabwe, beyond being a government problem, but it's actually an economic problem.
Yeah.
So South Africa has a responsibility in engaging in some robust, serious economic development in Zimbabwe
Yeah.
from a cross-border agreement perspective,
Yeah.
from a regional integration perspective, beyond
So
just
you're not
the
just for
simple-
let's deport them and it will solve all our
no,
problems.
it won't solve all of our problems.
So why don't you oppose the deportation that is often talked about by other political parties? Because this is a big election issue that they believe they can rally people around. In fact, your previous home, Action SA, also seemed to be a borderline case there of also agitating for foreigners to get out and what have you as part of whipping up election emotions.
JJ, that's what we are trying to do with coming to media platforms like this and engaging. But at the same time, we're running two multiple marathons, policy and as we are building at the same time. But we are clear in our policy that we need something much better. This is not going to help. In any case, we can't create a situation where you isolate South Africa in Africa and also in SADC. We need to retain our influence and we must build solidarity among South Africans. That's very important. So beyond Mababuyele, we have to do something bigger as well and realize that we need to. And I think where the South African government has been weak is they've actually not assisted beyond campaigning for the sanctions in Zimbabwe to be lifted. They've actually not engaged Zimbabwe strategically to say, but with the limitations you have, how do we engage on our
What's
side?
your policy about making a set of skills that are exclusive for South Africans? I think the Department of Labour issued a list to say these following skills you have to hire South Africans, not necessarily foreigners. I mean, are you agreeing to that kind of approach as a new political party?
We don't believe that you can come from Zimbabwe, even if you come legally here, to be a plumber in South Africa, as an example. So I think there are skills that can be defined as key skills that you need to attract people from across the world to come and contribute and give that skill. But there's a responsibility of the government of low entry skills to assist our people to deliver those skills. But interestingly, what I've observed in developed countries is that the entire service sector is dominated by foreigners, because the skills are very low skills there, and majority of the people there have a decent skill and are busy at a different set of jobs that have a higher skill intake. So that's quite interesting. But for us, we don't even have the necessary skills to compete at that level. And at the very base, at the bottom, our people do compete with people from outside of the country, whether they're here legally or not. So I think the country has the government has a responsibility to categorize specific set of skills that come and contribute into the country, but can also assist with building the reservoir of.
Do you think the other parties are using this as an electioneering thing?
It's a dangerous thing, JJ. There are some fires who must never light.
Yeah.
There are some fires who must never light. So I've always held the view that there should be responsible engagement and economic diplomacy quite aggressively at this stage.
So would you agree with the EFF's approach of opening the borders then?
No, I don't think we are there at this stage.
So you are on a fence. You're not agreeing with this side
we're not on the
deport
fence.
all of them, but you're not saying open the borders.
No,
because you're saying the borders are artificial. Why you insist on the borders?
What we need to do, I appreciate the historical context of borders.
Yeah.
And in the process of us engaging different Amakosi, we're actually now having an interesting conversation about the Bakwenas in Qwaqwa and the fact that they under Khosi of Lesotho. Now you've got somebody who reports to another king in a different country. So I really think the start for us is to have a conversation with Lesotho first around integration.
Yeah.
And beyond the borders, because if you look at how Lesotho is positioned,
they want the self-determination. They don't want Lesotho to be absorbed as a 10th province.
I think a conversation is necessary. I think there's some things that can happen in 10 years, but you can certainly put the building blocks towards a number of things.
So you agree on the opening of borders then? You remove the borders within Lesotho because they don't make sense. Half of the people come in and out. They even no longer need passports. Swaziland, same thing. Surely.
Our point, JJ, is you must start somewhere. And we are saying the first point to start is with Lesotho.
Why Lesotho? Why not Swaziland? It's the same thing.
Lesotho. I think look at the geography of Lesotho. Lesotho is inland, surrounded by
landlocked.
South Africa. Landlocked.
Yeah, Swaziland is equally landlocked.
No,
it's a little bit of a...
There's Mozambique.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're locked by Mozambique.
Yes, but I'm saying the unique geographic position of Lesotho.
It's locked by South Africa all around.
Completely. And that's a unique case to make. That's a very unique case to make. And it's also it's strategic.
And you want to add a 10th province when you are failing to run 9.
No. Its manifestation into reality could be whatever that could be negotiated upon, but I think it's worthy of a conversation to move that direction.
It's a frank dialogue on your radio. Bongani Baloyi, the leader of Xiluva, my guest here tonight on a frank dialogue. We can. I'm not sure why you're not ringing us, but you can ring us still on 079 468 5183 if you want to engage with him. If you will have time to do that. Your ideology, I was fascinated. Your ideology is Ubuntu. Is that even an ideology?
It is. Absolutely.
Tell me more.
So we're saying our ideology is Ubuntu.
Yeah.
And we've gone to define Ubuntu to mean 3 aspects of it. There's 3 aspects to Ubuntu. One is Abantu Umuntu.
Yeah.
The second part is Amasiko. The third part is Isintu. So Abantu Umuntu goes to the part where we're saying before you can be Umuntu, the singular individual, you are part of Abantu. And this goes deep because it speaks about our communitarian community and value and society that is inherently part of our values as Africans. So when you presume someone to be Umuntu, you also presume that person contributes towards the communal table and add value in our society.
Yeah.
And to be part of Abantu First means you're a responsible citizen who is contributing positively to the society and you are part of this collective. Now, when you step out and act against community or communitarian interests, you no longer cease to be umuntu. So you become isilwane. That's why bazokutshela ukuthi akusaso umuntu lento ayenzile iyasabeka isilwane lento le manje. So I really think that we're also out of balance as Africans because we have assimilated, and the consequence of assimilating is into zabelungu kakhulu. We move away from our sense of self and our essence, and therefore we are easy to be manipulated because we now see the world from the eyes of another person, and the things that matter to us we no longer defend and protect.
Yeah, I assume that you made a bit of research about what would get you into power, because all the things you're saying are nice, but it doesn't look like they'll get you into power, and I'll tell you why. Because you almost sound like a Zapo. Azapo, big intellectuals and so on, but they've always been on the margins, like a boutique. Like a boutique political party, you'll always have one seat there or 0 seats in legislatures, and that therefore, while the ideas are good, they've not been able, at least in the last 30 years, to make a difference, right, in practical terms to the lives of people.
Yeah.
Is your research telling you that these nice things you are saying about Ubuntu culture, centering ourselves back, etc., would those get you into power? Because that's really that's what this is about. Otherwise, you can just become a think tank.
We appreciate that politics is the optic of contesting for political power, but we did not start there.
Yeah,
we started with what do we believe in to be able to sell a product to South Africans.
Yeah,
let's observe society. I think you would agree with me. With more and more, you are finding black people who are wearing amabai wenyang.
Yeah.
So there's a big awakening.
Yeah.
Of something and manifesting in these young people more than 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So we might have the advantage of time and a society that's actually moving towards where we are going.
Right, I hear you. How will all those things then come into the first part you raised about economic development? Biggest problem here, unemployment. You saw the statistics released this week. They are heart-wrenching in terms of the number of young people without jobs, big inequality, or the most unequal society in the world, etc. A lot of people going to bed hungry. Give me 2 or 3 things that would say to me, I should choose this party and not another when it comes to resolving that issue of unemployment.
Correct. So when you look at the issue of unemployment, we need to understand what is growing unemployment in that, or the factors that are contributing. Obviously, number one is the leadership of the country and the state. The state's inability to perform its mandate.
Yeah.
That's why you are seeing there's more people in the private sector now starting to provide the core responsibility of the state. And obviously ESCOM. Beyond ESCOM, even bigger than ESCOM, is now Transnet, which has put the country in a precarious situation. You can't get any of your minerals out of Richards Bay or in the port of entry. There's a serious backlog. Now, what that means in real terms, JJ, is the tax that is paid to the country and the revenue from that diminishes significantly.
Yeah.
People are estimating north about 40 billion rands, which is going to affect the country significantly. So that means your ability to redress and take that and put in your fiscus and put into a government program has diminished. So I'm citing the things that contribute to unemployment.
Yeah.
Some of these things, what we need to do in our first 5 years in government is to stop the leak. We need to claw back the ability of state and capacity of the state to govern and manage its affairs properly before we can speak growth. Growth is going to come as a consequence of unblocking and repairing and the government giving policy certainty. So that's the first part of growth that will come out of there. But most importantly for the unemployed, there's a group of young people who are extremely desperate, who don't have a path. And that is a ticking time bomb, as my friend Prince Marshall calls in the social cake. Of this group of unemployed young people doing, and they need an immediate intervention. One of the things we see that is extremely important is conscription for these young people. We need to introduce conscription and link it to a social grant system. So you can't have this and not the other, but there has to be movement.
So people must work for their social grant.
Absolutely, and conscription. So we need to centralize the intake of government through government, either police, teachers, etc. As we move from the same geolocation in their minds, in their townships elsewhere, but you need to rescue young people significantly. So what we are effectively saying, there won't be any fundamental departure in terms of economic policy, but there has to be certainty and unblocking of what needs to happen now. The state must manage the factors that contribute to lack of economic growth. Then we can engage with the outside world to come and invest into the country. But equally, there has to be a serious conversation about the minerals of the country. There's also be a serious conversation about do we agree that the state can actually play a much more decisive role in key areas? What then becomes the role of the Reserve Bank in this agenda for building this country? And that's part of our research that's ongoing now, because it's introducing very serious questions that will undermine or play a big role in the influence of the direction we go to. But you can't do that immediately. So
what promises are you making to South Africans around job creation? In simple terms, they may not understand any of the big words, but in simple terms.
In simple terms, let me speak to the parents, abazali bethu. Lenganzen and is bona day in, day out ezinganaksas that you're not even sure what bazokhulisa imizi yenu. Our biggest focus is going to look at lenganzen les. Sibasuse laba khona sibafake with conscription. And that's very important because they are falling prey to drugs, alcohol, and risky sexual behavior. That's undermining Abo Baba and Abo Mama Baksasa. What future we're building? So we need to stop that. So the most important thing, melesi tolele labantwana ben abasezindlini aba fall prey to drugs and alcoholism, and move them and chance them to prepare them to be a responsible citizen of the future. That is our biggest message. Then we need to deal with the issue with SOEs. They need to be functional, my SOEs.
Yeah.
And we need to find the best minds, but equally we need to go after those who have.
What do you think is collapsing SOEs now?
The first part, JJ, is mismanagement because of pursuit of patronage and money. Biggest thing. SOEs are seen as a funnel to extract money out of the fiscus of the country into a few persons' hands. But equally, our inability to maintain our SOEs are making us vulnerable by design or by default. People would argue in two different, and would argue it's by design and intention, really. So SOEs are being hollowed out, left, right, and center. That means with my SOEs, the intention is to sell and leave the country with nothing in its hands. And we need to prevent that. And we need to get competent people to run SOEs. Probably the mistake, JJ, the ANC government did is put their best cadres in parliament and not in the administration. And that's something we need to learn.
Is there best cadres in parliament?
There's some few. There are some few who can be technocrats. And we need to be a government of technocrats to change this what's happening with politics. So we need to get SOEs
and
working.
you'll be able to give us such MPs.
Beyond just MPs, JJ, we will attract the best technocrats. That will be the difference.
So you'll have
of our
cadre
government.
deployment.
Absolutely, cadre deployment is important, JJ. And I'll
so
tell
you'll deploy cadres. You will deploy your own cadres to run the SOEs.
We will deploy cadres that are competent. South Africans that are competent.
Right. We're going to have to leave it there. Unfortunately, we've run out of time completely. But it's not our last time to talk to you. Thank you so much for availing yourself to talk to us about the future of South Africa. And we wish you well in the months ahead, where you're going to have to convince many, many more people to really have to vote for you and make you part of the future.
No, thank you so much. I must also say to those who are listening that there's a home for you. Those ebafuna izinto ezibalekile ezesintu ehambelana nenkolo yethu singabantu abamnyama. We no longer need to assimilate izongena into ezabelungu bangahloniphi basicekela phansi ne-racism seyinyukile ngoba isithunzi somuntu omnyama sesiwile. Mele sizivuse, mele sizokwakha amadoda kubonakala ukuthi akhona amadoda emphakathini, men who are responsible bazokwakha imizi yokhokho babo bayivuse. So we are saying ukuthi now there's a chance, the chance to vote for Nelson Mandela is gone. Now you must vote for yourself and your children.
All right. Bongani, thank you. Thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you.
That was Frank Dialogue on your radio tonight. Coming to you live from Kofifi FM tonight. Joining Sidibeng FM, Teta FM, Alex FM, and Cosmos FM, as well as Kasi FM. But until we talk frankly again, may God bless you.
Frank Dialogue on your radio with Dr. JJ Tabane. Let's talk frankly.